sometimes you don't know who you are until you're punched in the face. And, you know, we came out, we got punched in the face right at the beginning. Kind of stung us a little bit, and it took us a little bit to respond, but the heart and fight that my kids showed tonight, I'm extremely proud of them. We took a few little injuries here and there. The guys stepped up, played hard. You know, all I can talk about is how great of a job my kids did and the great effort that they had tonight. West Haven played a great game, and it was a great fourth-quarter game, and we knew it was going to be tonight.
It was calm down. It's just football. Everybody said we hasn't been challenged, so let's show them what we do the challenge is, and we defeated it.
When Nick has the ball, I have confidence he can do stuff. As a Southern, I've seen him do stuff I haven't seen seniors do. And so I have faith in Nick. I was just standing there saying, I have faith in Nick. I have faith in Nick.
I had a slant, but you playing up, and we need 22 yards. I'm going to go get them 22 yards for you. So I did my little own thing and caught the ball.
What was it like catching that thing and winning this game for you? What was it like?
It felt real good. Like, after I caught it, and I just see it, like, I just feel a whole vibration of lights and people yelling. I'm like, I caught it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Meat Grinder, your weekly dose of high school football in Connecticut. And I'm your host, Ron Patrick Bowley. With me, as always, is Pete Paguaga. Peter, what's up?
Nothing much, man. I feel like every week we're doing this show, something crazy happens. And this weekend was not, it was just like every other week, apparently.
Yeah.
Just chaos.
Was indeed chaos. It was week 10, and from the get-go, it was just nuts. Rain forecasts, juggling of games left and right. But at the top of the show, you heard from the wild capper, the capper to the whole crazy week. The scene at West Haven's Ken Strong Stadium, where Hamden took West Haven to the brink, came back from 20 down, 23 to 20 lead late in the game, but West Haven, Armani Reed with the touchdown catch on fourth down with 38 seconds left, and the Westies still unbeaten, 9-0, with just an amazing game. Just had it all. Ups, downs, great plays, acrobatics, you name it. Thrills, chills, spills for an SEC Tier 2 game. Which I think is completely, I think you can throw that out right now. It was a clash of titans over Ken Strong Stadium. You heard from Rich Boucher, the West Haven head coach. You heard a little bit from Tom Dyer, the Hamden coach. Lots of just things in there to talk about, Pete. And I don't know. It was just, for everything that happened, we were exhausted. We went to I felt like I went to I think I went to about 6 games this week. It was a great way to kind of reunite there at Ken Strong Stadium for just a classic.
Yeah, it was a classic. It was an instant classic. We left Maloney Southington 2 weeks ago, and I think I looked at you and I said, that's the best game I've seen since the 2019 Class Double L championship game. And then this happened. And I think this one might be crazier than the one before. It might be recency bias, but I mean, the atmosphere, the crowd, the energy, the noise. I mean, West Haven had the band, Hamden had this, air horn. Yeah, I mean, it was a crazy
the
game.
NCAA championship horn.
Yeah, it was just a crazy atmosphere. A lot of different teams there in attendance, a lot of coaches, a lot of people repping. That was the place to be this weekend, was West Haven Hamden, and it really lived up to everything. We thought West Haven was going to run them out of the building, but Hamden fought back, and a big part of them fighting back, and we definitely have to mention it, was the injury to Cameron Kemp.
Yeah.
The running back, the junior running back from Hamden, went down with an arm injury. I think, obviously we're, our thoughts are with Cameron as he rehabs, and gets that arm fixed up, because he's only a junior, so he'll be back next year. But, Hamden really rallied around that. It was a scary scene. He got taken off on a stretcher.
And he was having a great game to that point too.
He was over 100 yards already.
Yeah,
I mean,
really
he was
the
pounding the ball. And then, we found out after the game that him and Armani Reed from West Haven are like best friends, really good friends. And Armani, kind of followed the stretcher out. And that was a really nice moment in what was a crazy football game battle. That was definitely, obviously, things are bigger than the game at that point.
That's my brother. Like, not even blood related, but that's my real brother, for real. Like, stay at each other's house, same clothes, all that. Like, that's my brother since Putty.
You saw what happened to him, how did that make you feel?
I couldn't do nothing but cry. I just cried. But my team told me calm down. If he gonna be good, I know he gonna be good. He pulled through like this.
Did you? You ran over to him, right?
Yeah.
What did you say to him?
I said, love you, boy. You gonna pull through this. This what we do. It's football.
I mean, we'll see. I'm not a doctor. There's some things, and things happen in the game of football. Kid's tough as nails. Kid was having a hell of a game before that, and there was a big loss at that point that he had to go get checked out. And I think he'll be okay, but we'll see where he's at.
And, back to the game. I mean, Armani scores the game-winning touchdown with 38 seconds left, and like the West Haven fans behind the goalpost just spill onto the field. Like a fan. I have the photo. The fan lifted him up in the end zone. Like that was our lead photo. Like he didn't get lifted up by a lineman or a teammate. He got lifted up by a fan. Like it was just chaos. And then when the horn sounded, the game was over. The fans spilled out onto the field. It was a great scene. Just a wild game.
It started out, looked like it was going to be all West Haven. Devontae Eddy take the opening kickoff. Whatever it was for a touchdown. Right then, bang, 7-0, and then they score twice more. And you're looking around saying, Hamden, you going to show up at all? Or is this going to be, coronation here for West Haven? It was for the Tier 2 championship, whatever that means. But it was 20-0 straight out of the box. And, and you're wondering, Hamden, are you going to get in this? Finally, they score on the touchdown throw to Trevion Singleton, who had a great
His first one.
Yeah. He scored a touchdown back. You're like, all right, 20-7, you can kind of work with that. And then, a little later, Hamden gets, they get within a score, and then Trevion Singleton again with just a ridiculous catch on the tip drill. It looked like it was a ball was kind of thrown up for grabs, and the West Haven's pick master, Avian Evans, jumps for it, and Trevion Singleton comes down with it. We were sitting there, you and I were both on the sidelines.
We were in the perfect spot.
Yeah,
it was right in front of us.
And we're still in the team box. Remember, they have the box from the 30s, and we're still there. We're just kind of like, everyone's down there watching because it was like a 75-yard score, and then he goes in, and everyone's jumping. I'm getting sprayed.
The team box didn't matter because they just took off past us out of the team box up the sideline. They ran over some guy on the sideline, whoever that guy is. He got up, was fine, but he just got ran over. You're gone. And I'm just standing there, just holding my camera, be like, "Don't hit me! Don't hit me! Don't hit me!" It was honestly, it was like the hyena scene in Lion King, and they're all running and Simba's dodging away so he doesn't get ran over. No, never seen Lion King.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie in a while, but immediately right then they had the fumble, which it was kind of a bang play. When I looked at it on the replay, it looked like you did have possession of it. I mean, they don't have the benefit of the replay, but Hamden takes over. Scores the touchdown, but then that gets called back, and then Hamden kicks the field goal, go up 23-20, with about 5 minutes left, and now West Haven's in big trouble facing, Hamden's getting in the backfield, a couple sacks on Conlon, and they're looking at like 3rd and like 21 or something crazy, and he has to go twice. He completes 2 passes. The second one to Armani, I thought he trapped that ball. Even Tom Dyer was like, we'll take a look at the film on that. I had a bad angle on it, but you can see here on the thing, it looks, if you zoom in close, it looks like it skipped there. West Haven kind of got bailed out here. Maybe you argue that Hamden, they got bailed out with the fumble, but then you look at that, I don't know. It was tough spot. Maybe Hamden, you just can't give him that opportunity, but
I think, look, if the ball hit the ground, and I think it was 4th down, so it should have been a turnover, right? But like you said, like, he was open. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they put themselves in that position The ref was standing right there.
It was right there.
So, like, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt over me, any day of the week, unless it's something I blatantly saw. But, I'm going to go with the referee on this one. He was right there. He made the call, much to the disappointment on the Hamden sideline, because he was right on the Hamden sideline.
Well, now they got to go. Now they got to pick it up and do it again. And they had it 4th down again.
Which
at the goal
is
line.
why, if you look at my photos, I was in the back of the end zone with you, and then it was 4th down, and I ran over to the Hamden sideline, thinking, like, Hamden's going to, if Hamden stops them here, I'm going to get Hamden running at me off the field in celebration.
Yeah.
And lucky me, because the touchdown was right in front of me. Armani Reed beat him on a whatever move it was, got wide open, got both feet in. It was literally right next to me. It was amazing. I was in the best spots all day.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were in a good spot for the Singleton touchdown, except we only got a little bit. So,
yeah, that's true.
But great catch in the end zone. He kind of got a little bit of separation. He kind of had to recover a bit there, and there was Bedlam, and that was that. And West Haven, it's 9-0. Your Tier 2 champions. Congratulations! And now they go into Thanksgiving against a Fairfield Prep team. I think you were the one who said it. Who said, like, they should take the banner with them, and then they'll unify the belts Thanksgiving Eve when they play Fairfield Prep, which is the Tier 1 champion, right?
Yeah, I said that to Al Carbone on Thursday after I saw Prep North Haven, and they had the tier banner for Fairfield Prep, and I said, why don't you just hold on to that? And he just looked at me. I go, West Haven wins tomorrow, or Saturday. Like, they're going to be playing for the SEC title on the 23rd, the 24th, whatever, the 23rd, the day before Thanksgiving. And he, like, I think he gave me like a sarcastic laugh, but I thought it was funny.
I think Hamden and West Haven belong up there, to be completely honest with you.
I agree.
And then everybody else maybe move them down to Tier 3 or make it Tier 2, whatever. We've said it a billion times. I forgot to say at the top of the show, we're going to talk to later on. We're going to talk to Rob Fleeting, the Windsor coach, whose team beat South Windsor last week to earn him his 200th victory. They got a big one to close out their season this week against Bloomfield. So we'll talk to Fleet about, his team this year. And, we'll talk to him a little bit about, the predicament that they're in. I mean, I would look at those teams in Class MM, and Windsor, Windsor could be able to beat all those teams if it can get in. Maybe not all, but it'll be a favor to do so. So we'll talk to him a bit about that. But it was just a crazy week, Pete. Let's talk about, like, what happened elsewhere. First of all, we had all the rain on Friday, the remnants of the hurricane coming up here on Friday. You and I were both in monsoons. You more than me. I was up at Naugatuck going to watch that game. For the Pinho Trophy, Woodland. Chris Anderson's first visit as an opponent back to his field. Talked about it. Well, he talked a little bit about that, but Naugatuck got us the heck out of there. It was a monsoon in the second half, but they got us the heck out of there. I think it was 34-0 early for this at halftime. And then the second half, just one more score and it was running time. But Mike Diedelbaum played great. Caden Martin played great. The defense was playing great. Woodland coming off the big win over Holy Cross just looked like deer in headlights in that game. But going back the night before on Thursday night, we went to our separate games. You went to see Fairfield Prep versus North Haven. I went all the way up to see Bloomfield almost blow up. Actually, they did blow a 27-point lead to Platt and then pulled that game out late to qualify for the playoffs. But the game that everyone was talking about was back at Falcon Field, Pete, where Maloney, now the defending #1 team in the state, first week on the job, and down they go. Jack Petrone just ran them over in an overtime victory. I had my spies there were sending me texts, updates, and I got the winning touchdown. The tying 2-point conversion by Glastonbury, and then the winning play where they basically forced Valentine into a scrum, and that was it on 4th down. And Pete, Kevin, what happened?
I'm heartbroken. My guys, my Maloney guys, they got to the top, and we look Glastonbury. This is a great win for them. We talked about them on the show a lot, basically saying, like, they haven't played anybody. Where's their big win? Where's this big thing? They lost to Hall, who didn't have a win, and then they lost to Southington, kind of handily. And you're like, they're not gonna have it. I didn't even put it on the picks. I thought Maloney was gonna win handily, boy, was I wrong. I mean, shout out to Coach Hennessy, and Jack Patron. I mean, what a player. I mean, he is having an unbelievable season. You might not know because they don't post any of their stats on Max Preps. But he is having an awesome season for the Guardians. Hell of a skier too. But no, that's a great win. That's a great win for them.
It's a Killington guy, Patron. That's where he learned. Killington, my favorite place. But
for Maloney, I mean, it's going to be a tough pill to swallow. They got a week and a half to get ready for Platt on Thanksgiving in the Stoddard Bowl. With they went from potentially being the number 1 seed or having a home game in the playoffs to now they're in and they're going on the road, and the way the seeding might go, they might be going to St. Joe's, they might be going to Newtown, they might be going to New Canaan, could be going to Naugatuck. So a lot changed for Maloney, not just number 1 seed. And
if they lose to Platt, we'll get into it. But if we lose to Platt, they, like you said, they could be on the road.
I mean, they went from their defense of the Class L state title just got a lot harder.
Yeah, absolutely. And now it was like that had happened on a Thursday night. So the big question now is like, who's going to be number 1? We had a few weekdays to think about it. We saw West Haven play Hamden. We're all walking off the field. I'm like, Ned Griffin of the day, New London. He's like, I've been on the bandwagon all this time. We're thinking, all right, I voted for West Haven number 1. You voted for West Haven number 1. I mean, they've certainly proved they're the last double L team with an undefeated record right now. The poll comes out today, Pete, and what happened? Southington is once again the number 1 team in the state. The Blue Knights with a big surprise. I guess. Listen, the voters have been confounding me all season long. Is there an argument to be made for Southington? If there is, I don't think it's a great one.
Here's the thing. I don't think anyone has a great one. I think the best argument is West Haven, which is why I voted them number 1. I don't think there is a powerhouse team this year. I don't think there's a clear-cut number 1. And you look at it, when we were talking about it last week, Maloney beat Southington, so Southington's 2. They beat Greenwich. Greenwich is 3. They beat St. Joe's. St. Joe's is 4. Kind of like you can use that deduction. West Haven throws a big wrench in this. Obviously, they're going 9-0. Not a bad wrench, but, they didn't kind of follow that math. But they're 9-0. They have great wins. Fairfield Prep's a great win. Shelton's a great win. Hamden's a great win. Notre Dame West Haven's a great win. Like, they've gone out and proven that they can play with the big dogs in this state. The thing is, I'll tell you, I sent my poll into Mike Fornabayo on Saturday night, and I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing past number 1. Like, for me, West Haven was a layup at number 1.
Yeah.
Like, it was a layup, but then it's like, okay, well, how do you draw Southington, Maloney, Greenwich, and St. Joe's after that? And, for me, Southington's loss to Maloney is a better loss than Maloney's loss to Glastonbury.
Yeah,
I get that made sense to me.
27-7.
Yeah, but Maloney beat Southington, and then Maloney beat Southington beat Greenwich by 1, and I was just trying to figure it out in my head. I'm like, I don't know how to do 2 through 7, and I was really confused. I think I kept Hamden locked in at 8. I don't think I moved them. They played a great game, but I don't. It was so hard this week. But Southington, I couldn't bring myself to vote for Southington 1. I couldn't bring myself to vote for Greenwich 1. I was at both of their losses. I couldn't bring myself to vote for them 1. I couldn't bring myself to keep Maloney at 1 after the loss to Glastonbury. Some people did, and I couldn't bring myself to vote St. Joe's number 1 either. So, and definitely not New Canaan. Saw them lose too. I mean, everyone on this list, I saw Southington lose, I saw Greenwich lose, I saw St. Joe's lose. I didn't see St. Joe's lose. I watched your video, St. Joe's losing, and I watched New Canaan lose.
Yeah.
So, all these teams lose. It was tough. I am the kiss of death.
But, I mean, here's the thing. I don't think a lot of these voters, I think the voters look at the tier 2 thing and they dismiss them out of hand. That's why they've been having trouble, West Haven, the ranking all year long. And I think a lot of people tell the kids that too, because the West Haven kids, we're big fans of the show. Shout out West Haven They're all watching. I think because every time you talk to the kids, they're like, yeah, everyone says we don't play anybody. And I'm like, what? No, Notre Dame's not nobody.
Yeah.
You know, or Shelton's not nobody. I know Shelton's not, the greatest Shelton team since Dan Orlovsky, but who else? Hamden, not nobody.
Nope.
Guilford's pretty good. I mean, no, it's not tier. But you look at Southington's schedule: Newington, Hall, Simsbury, East Hartford. Yeah, they beat Windsor, Glastonbury. They beat. Okay, that's good. Connard. But you look at there, and then they beat Greenwich. All right, maybe you say it's a little better, but it's not that much better than West Haven's schedule. Greenwich, Newtown, okay, that's good. Ridgefield's a good win. West Hill, St. Joseph is a great win. Darienne's a good win. Darienne's certainly playing well. And Trumbull is a really good win for Greenwich. So I think I had Greenwich at number 2. Now I'm kind of like pulling back from, all right, who lost to who? And I'm looking at, your overall body of work now. I think that's what you have to start doing now. But
yeah,
now I think our it's just like the Killingly thing. They would not vote. Do they even still vote in that way? They would not vote Killingly below Wyndham in our poll.
Yeah, Killingly's 12th.
Right, and Wyndham lost, and they refused to say Wyndham. I mean, Wyndham beat him by 3 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns. Yeah. My goodness. But I don't know. We'll just have to sort this out in the Clastonbury Bowl playoffs. I guess that's the silver lining here. Maybe West Haven's looking at this. They're like, all right. Still, no love for we've done everything we possible except beat Fairfield Prep. Now, if West Haven goes down and loses to Fairfield Prep, well, then the voters can tell me to go pound sand. So,
okay. So let's just play hypotheticals here. West Haven loses to Prep on Thanksgiving Eve. Southington loses to Cheshire. Greenwich loses to Staples. Trumbull loses to St. Joe's. New Canaan loses to Darien.
If that happens,
those are all, but I'm saying those are not out of the realm of possibility. Those are all really good games on Thanksgiving, right? Cheshire's a really good team. Staples is a very good team. Prep's a really good team. Trumbull's a really good team. Darien can beat New Canaan on Thanksgiving. That game gets thrown out the window. And then Maloney and Platt.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but you look at the top 6, even 7 with Hamden, even Ansonia at 9. I mean, it's not possible, but you look at the top 10, all 9 of these 10 teams, because 2 play each other, 9 of these 10 teams can lose on Thanksgiving.
Let's take a look at the 2 media polls now. The day of New London's coaches poll, they're always the one that I wish I had. The coaches vote the way I would have voted, or the way I did vote. Let's look at it right now. Game Time CT, obviously our poll. Number 1 is Southington. They have 8 first place votes. Number 2 is Greenwich. They have 4 first place votes, 8-1 and 8-1. Number 3, West Haven with 10 first place votes. You get 10, and they can't, which means everyone's voting them way down there to everyone else, which is just nuts. Maloney has 2 first place votes. I mean, what the heck at this point? They're number 4. Then it goes St. Joseph, New Canaan, Hamden at 7, Ansonia at 8, Staples at 9. And the new team this week is Newtown getting in over North Haven, which lost to Fairfield Prep. Over at the days, the West Haven Blue Devils with 11 of 12 first place votes. They are number 1 in the day's poll. Greenwich, number 2, which is kind of like what I had. Southington 3, St. Joseph 4. This is how I voted, to be completely honest with you. Maloney 5, New Canaan 6, Hamden 7, Newtown 8. Fairfield Prep getting in over Newtown, which, all right, you can argue that. And then they give a little love to Ansonia at number 10. That is the day's coaches poll. Who's right, who's wrong? I mean, at this point, it's all based on what you think and what you know. So nobody really cares. What we do care about, though, Pete, are the rankings in the state playoffs, which, okay, so with all the craziness that was going on, we can finally start looking at the playoff points and who is in and who is out. So here's what we've done. Mike Fornabal, shout out. He's done a bunch of calculations here. I did 2 of the divisions. That's the first time I've ever had little help. I needed it. I
haven't done any.
We tried to set something up, but Pete's busy doing the Thanksgiving Day preview capsules, so we'll give him that task. Mike and I have been going back and forth with the playoff rounds, and here is what the situation is: 6 divisions, we now, instead of 32, we now have 48 teams in the playoffs this year over 6 divisions. And as of a week and a half left, this is week 11, which is about half the schedule, not even, and then Thanksgiving. So that's a week and a half left. We have 27 of 48 teams have already unofficially clinched state playoff berths, and a handful of those have clinched home games. A couple have already clinched first round byes. Here it is. In Class Double-L, the whole thing is set. Glastonbury won to get in, and then Staples needed to hang on to beat Ridgefield, which game effort by Ridgefield was not going down without a fight, but Staples hangs on to beat them 14-11 to knock them out. Glastonbury officially clinches, or unofficially clinches. Greenwich, West Haven, Southington, Staples, Hamden, Trumbull, Fairfield Prep, and Glastonbury. Basically, we're just looking at seeding at this point. If Glastonbury wins their final game, I believe that is against Simsbury, I think they will get in. They will go over Fairfield Prep for the final spot. Anyway, so then in Class L, you have St. Joseph, Naugatuck, Newtown, New Canaan, and Maloney. 3 spots left. Class Double M, SMSA is the only one at 9-0. Everybody else is still up for grabs. A lot of teams are very close. Class M, Berlin is the top seed easily right now, 9-0. And they have a home game. Then you have Law, Rockville, Notre Dame, West Haven decided they weren't going to wait to be 5-5 and get in. They beat Shelton up. Picota had a great game again for them to get the Green Knights. The 2022 Class M champion Green Knights are officially in the building. ATI at 7-1, and there are only 3 spots left there. Class Double S, Foreign 9-0, Wyndham 8-1, Cromwell Portland. We didn't even mention Cromwell Portland goes down to defeat. Alex Hare's back though, baby. Back and ready to go. We thought he'd be lost for the season, broke his leg. Now he's all the way back. Great job by that, but your boys over there ringing the bell, Pete, beating Cromwell Portland, ending their 23 game win streak dating back to 2019. A great job by Rockville, who are now in the running. Oh, they're actually that clinched.
They're in. Yeah,
clinched.
I got a text message from one of my spies who said Rockville ain't dead yet, baby. So the Rams are rocking.
Yeah, the Rams, who were runners up in Class M solely last year, are now back in the playoffs there. Maybe they can beat Notre Dame. We'll see. Or Berlin or Law. But good to see Eric Knickerbocker and the guys back. So that's Class Double S, 3 teams in there. And then S, Ansonia, your top seed. David Cassetti and the Chargers just pulled away from Seymour. Seymour showed up in that game.
Winning at half.
Week. What's that? Yeah, for most of the half. And then Ansonia, as it does, pulled away. But not a bad job there by Dresdick and the guys. Seymour is very close, even though there are 5 teams right now that are clinched here. Ansonia, Holy Cross, even though Holy Cross is playing as we speak. They're playing Torrington. They should win that. But even regardless, they're in. Woodland, despite their loss at Naugatuck, in at 7-2. Bloomfield. Finally with Bloomfield, I went up there last Thursday, and I got to see. I'd never been to a game at Bloomfield before. They go against Platt. No, I'd never watched a game.
I've been to Bloomfield like 10 times in the last 3 years.
I'd never. You're the CCC guy.
I know. Apparently so. Yeah.
But you had Bloomfield. They get in. They were up 27 in it. Another pick 6. You had one-handed catches by Davian Kerr, who was great. You know, Foster's throwing touch. They had a punt return. A muff punt touchdown to put them up 34-7 going into the half. And then they could have added one more, but I don't know what they were doing. But the second half, all Platt. Platt's going nuts, and they get within. They actually tie the game up 34-34. Bloomfield finally able to pull that one out, though. With about 3 minutes left, they went right down. Jaden Johnson, who scored a touchdown earlier in the game. He has a 16-yard touchdown pass from Darian Foster to put them up 40-34. Platt goes right back down the other way, but turns it over on downs about the 20-yard line, and that was it. Platt, though, still not done yet. If they beat Maloney, they have a decent, or if not a decent, better than decent chance of getting into the Class Double M playoffs, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, that game on Thanksgiving obviously means a lot, and I thought Platt was going to pull it off. I was like watching from my phone, and I'm like, come on, baby, come on, Panthers. But because I picked them, I was the only one to pick them in the pick'ems, so I needed to steal that point. But now look, the Panthers are going to fight. Bruin's going to fight. If that game was 2 minutes longer, kind of one of those kind of things. But 27-point comebacks, nothing to sneeze at. They're a good team.
Here's your boy Jason Bruin on why they got off to such a slow start and what of course, the Stoddard Bowl means in a couple of weeks. And they're look, there were a lot of heartbroken kids on that field, but he knows that the season's far from over, and so the Stoddard Bowl figures be a good one.
Basically they just played soft in the first half. These guys came out. They're Bloomfield's freaking, pretty legit. They got some athletes, and they came out like a ball of fire on us, and our kids were just like, this maybe not where we want to be, and the resiliency. We talked about sustaining for the half and working in the third and fourth quarter, and it wasn't like it was an X's and O's thing. It was not like we made a ton of corrections or anything like that. It was just about, hey, step up and start playing like football.
You still got a little life here still left, and you got a team that you guys love to play. Everybody loves to see.
Well, they're waiting there every year, so
and they just lost tonight. So there's a lot going on for the Stoddard Bowl again.
Yeah. It's I don't know if we want it any other way. I've been in situations either as a player or as a coach where either we're super favored or they're super favored, and I kind of like them a little bit more even, and let's go battle, and it always makes for a good game when both teams are ready to go. So we're going to do our best to give out play as hard as we can and give a great show on Thanksgiving morning.
I think it was good for Ty's guys, High Outlaws guys. They were down 15 against, or they were up 15 against Killingly, lost, and they were up 17 points against Berlin and lost. So where Berlin had a 17-point comeback. I think they're up 16 against Berlin, but he just says it. Look, we're just not a deep team, and these are young kids, and they're just getting gassed. And it was good for them to finally respond. But 27, I know you're gassed, but 27, you got to move the ball, get some first downs, Bloomfield. But they're going to be dangerous in Class S for sure.
It means everything. It means everything, especially against a good team like Platt, to pull it out in the end and keep fighting, because those was rough games that we lost. It hurt us, but they learn from those type of games. That's how you learn and try to be a good team. So I felt like those were learning points, and now we're able to finish.
That's where we stand with the playoffs right now, Pete. There are a bunch of winning in types. If you really want me to just go through it really quick here. Obviously, Class LL is finished. We'll skip right to Class L. Right now, Cheshire, Darien, and New Milford, Pete, which knocked off Shaven and Barlow with a pretty big win there. They are now in position to maybe get their first playoff berth ever if they can beat your boys from New Fairfield on Thanksgiving week, Pete. But if Cheshire can beat Southington, they're in. If Darien can beat Buchanan, they're in. And if New Milford can beat New Fairfield, they're in. And after that, Shelton now needs a help. He needs to beat Xavier, which plays a couple days before Thanksgiving now instead of Derby. Shelton needs to win that and then hope one of those teams above it lose. Middletown also lurking in there. The Dragons with a really tough 7-6 loss to Wethersfield on Saturday. Right, we were both at that game for half. Nobody scored, but we were there. But so they need to win as well. They play Berlin to finish off this week on Friday, and if they can win that, then someone above them is going to need to lose. But right now, that's where you're looking at Class L. I don't see it. No one else is even in the running there. So there might be a shot for one of these teams to maybe get in with a loss. Who knows? But Shelton's waiting for someone above them, and Middletown waiting for someone that they got to win, though.
Look, just looking at the paper, Cheshire hasn't beaten Southington in, I think, 9 years or 9 tries. Darien hasn't beaten New Canaan the last 4 times they've played. They didn't beat them. Was it 4? Yeah, they beat them Pine's freshman year. And then Drew Pine went 3-1 against them. He won 3 in a row. And then New Canaan won last year. So 4 in a row, New Canaan over Darien. I'm not sure of the history of New Milford, New Fairfield, but I think New Fairfield.
Late, I think.
Yeah. So, that kind of sets up perfectly for Shelton if they're able to win on Tuesday. And Middletown. It puts them both in. If Middletown can win this weekend and Shelton can win Tuesday, of Thanksgiving week, then they're just kind of sitting. I mean, they'll be scoreboard watching New Milford, New Fairfield, because they also play Tuesday. And then those 2 games on Thanksgiving, I'm sure we'll see a bunch of Shelton coaches out at Cheshire and at the Cheshire game and the Darien game to see if they'll get in. Because, look, if I was a betting man, and I'm not a betting man, I like Shelton's odds to have at least one of those teams lose.
I think they're. If I'm Mike DeFelice and the guys, I like my chances as well. I mean, Southington, Cheshire, like you just said. New Milford's New Fairfield is 11-4 against New Milford since 2006, and the last time they lost to New Milford was 2017. So they've won 3 straight right now, and that's usually I don't even know what do they call that game? I forget what it's called, Greenmount Bowl or something.
Oh no, it's the Candlewood Cup.
Candlewood Cup. That's what it is.
I don't know if you know, I'm doing all the things. I'm putting together the Thanksgiving capsules, so I know all the names right now.
Yeah, I love it. We got to put the names. You have a name for the team. Anyway, moving over to Class M, Class Double M. We looked at SMSA is the only team that's clinched, but Killingly, Wethersfield, and Northwest United are very, very close, and so is Massac winning in for them. Wethersfield winning in for them. Killingly winning in for them. But I think Killingly and Wethersfield are very close anyway. Thames River, same deal. And Northwest United, like I said, same deal. And North Haven beating Amity, which they typically do on Thanksgiving night in this case. They're very close to clinching with it. So that's only basically one spot there. We'll talk to Fleet about his chances in a little bit. But Windsor, if they don't beat Bloomfield, they're going to be finished. And then there's also Guilford, which is kind of hanging around there. E.O. Smith and Fitch it's very tough for them. But
Wilton's just hanging out.
What's that?
Wilton's just hanging out.
Yeah,
they're done.
Waiting. I mean, Wilton would need Platt, Guilford, which is possible, losing, Windsor losing to maybe squeak in there with a 115 average. But right now, if things go the way to form, like Massac, North Haven, Wethersfield, Killingly, Northwest United, and Thames River all get in. And let's say Windsor loses to Bloomfield. If Platt beats Maloney, that's it. And Platt could even get over Windsor if they do win that game.
So if Windsor loses to Bloomfield and Platt loses to Maloney, could Platt jump them because of more strength of schedule points?
Windsor winning doesn't quite put them there. Platt winning will probably get over Windsor. If they both lose, it might open the door up for Wilton to get in at 7-3. They're just sitting there waiting. Guilford's mathematically involved is in there, but they got to beat East Haven in hand, and they never beat hand. Neil Smith did not do himself any favors by losing last week. They'll be caught. So it's basically looking like for the last spot, Windsor winner or Platt winner will get in, depending, or if they both lose, maybe Wilton. That's Double M.
And Massac, even with a loss, Massac can get in.
I think Massac and North Haven, even let's say those two lost, I think Massac will still get in with a loss. They'll have to hold off somebody, but I think they already have 100 more playoff points than the others, so or more than 100 playoff points than the others. So I think they're going to be in good shape, Massac, even with a loss to Newton. I mean, they're close. So, but if they win, they're definitely in. We haven't quite gotten all the details down on Class Double M. There are plenty of games going on this week, so we'll have to kind of wait on that a little bit. But anyway, moving over to Class M, as we mentioned, Berlin, Law, Rockville, Notre Dame, West Haven, and ATI are all in. Ram can clinch if it wins its last 2. They're playing as we speak as well. They're playing Avon. If they win, they'll get in. Now, the weird one here is Hartford Public. I don't know quite what's going on. They had one game that was suspended or postponed, and they have not have a makeup date yet. They got 2 games left. If that game becomes a forfeit, then they get the points from it. And then they got 2 teams, and then they got two games left versus New Britain and Weaver. If they win those games, they'll get in. But we don't know what's happened with this Northwest Catholic game right now. It still has not been decided on their schedule. Brantford at 3-5 is actually in the running here, although it's really just a mess. Woodstock is also here. If they can beat 2 teams, if they can beat Killingly, they'll certainly catapult them. But Brantford at 3-5 is what I was afraid of in these 6 playoff divisions. And I think even John Lamone will say I don't think his team really belongs in the playoffs. But he'll take it. Don't get me wrong. It's a tough schedule. But so that's basically what you're looking at. I don't know what the situation is with Hartford Public. It's kind of a mess down there at the bottom. It'll sort itself out at the end of this week. We'll double back on it. Class Double S, Foreign, Wyndham, Cromwell, Portland. Ledyard is basically almost in, not quite, but they're almost in. They'll definitely get in with a win over Fitch. Barlow will get in with a win over Weston. Granby Canton will get in a win over Coventry, Wyndham Tech, and Gilbert Northwest Hoosie will get in with a victory over St. Paul. And Valley Regional's got 2 games left. They play Old Saybrook on Wednesday, and if they win those 2 games, they will get in. Then you have Ellington and Rocky Hill kind of sitting in the wings there. They're going to need a couple of those teams to lose up top. Maybe Valley, maybe Gilbert. It's a lot of these teams are favored to win, so that's going to be tough. Ellington's going to need to be correct, and Rockville to close it out to maybe squeeze out a spot here. And then Rocky Hill is going to need them to lose too. So Rocky Hill's in trouble. They got 2 games left. Tolland and Cromwell, Portland as well. But if Valley can win out, Old Saybrook, Westbrook, and HK, which is always a tough game, so you never know there, Ellington. But if they can win those 2, that'll be good for Valley. And then Gilbert obviously beating St. Paul, they'll get in. So that's Class Double S. And finally in Class S, Ansonia, Holy Cross, Bloomfield, Woodland, New Fairfield, all in. Seymour and East Catholic are very close. There's 1 spot left, basically. It's in HK's hands. Capital Prep, Valley or Regional, they win both of those. They will put themselves right into the spot there. And frankly, if they lose one of those games, then they'll get to a 4th loss. Then you maybe open the door a little bit here for North Brantford, which is sitting at 10, behind Oxford, which is 4 and 5, which they got Derby left. That won't be enough to keep them ahead of, let's say, North Brantford wins. They beat Morgan and Coggins to finish up. Maybe North Brantford can steal a spot. If you really ask me right now, I think HK is going to get in anyway, so it's not going to be a big deal. But that's it right there. Like I said, East Catholic, Seymour, I think they're pretty much locks, even though they haven't clinched just yet. So that's the playoff points right now, Pete. Just a crazy week as always, and there are just games I think the only night there aren't games in the next 2 weeks, I think, are Sunday, Tuesday, and maybe next Monday. Something crazy like that. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes. So we start Wednesday, we play Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. No games Sunday, no games Monday. Then Thanksgiving games start Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. No games Friday, no games Saturday, and then quarterfinals are on Tuesday.
Oof. So just kind of a wild week. I mean,
can I be honest about something?
Go for it.
I'm trying to sell myself on Brantford getting in and upsetting Berlin. So I'm trying to sell myself on now, but that's wild. Like you said, we're going to know a lot more at the end of this week. Some of these Thanksgiving games are going to have a lot more. They're obviously it's going to be playoff seeding on the line here, but we might see some crazy things happening. A la Jonathan Law. 5-6 years ago, and they got in at 6-4. They needed like 10 things to happen, and they all happened. Or whatever it was, whatever crazy year that was. So at least it'll add a little bit of excitement.
Yeah, I get, which is what we're kind of looking for, I guess. I mean, it's really fun to see teams that are below 500 for a state playoff berth. And who knows? Maybe they make a run like Foreign in baseball or something. Although, So with that said, let's double back to Class Double M and talk to a coach whose team is hanging right by a thread right now. That's Windsor coach Rob Fleet. Joining us on the show is, of course, the head football coach of Windsor High School. Just earned his 200th victory as a head coach. He's been doing it 24 years, first at Weaver, last 14 at Windsor. He's always got guys who are going to the NFL. He's always in the running for state championships or state playoffs. It's Rob Fleeting at Windsor. Coach, welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
Doing pretty well. Thank you guys for having me.
So
thanks for joining.
Yeah, what can you say about your team this year? It's really, it's a pretty young group, huh?
Yeah, pretty young. I think we only have like 7 seniors. Have one guy returning on offense. I think we had a linebacker, probably a defensive back returning on defense. It's a young group that don't quit. They didn't fold. They continue to get better. I knew it was going to be some struggles in the beginning of the year, just because nothing is comparable to just game speed and game experiences. You know what I mean? So again, I knew that we was going to have to go through that. But it was some good game experiences. Facing teams such as Shelton, Southington, and Wethersfield. Starting out with those guys, it was tough. But one thing that our kids are showing that they're competitors. They're gonna give us their all. So that's all we can ask. We got to just coach them up and put them in the right positions to win.
You guys lost. You went to the final last year. You were right in that. Then you lose a bunch of guys there, and then you lose your quarterback, who was a junior. He transfers out. I mean, that's not. You guys are used to that. You guys are used to turnover, right? I mean, it wasn't anything that you guys weren't like, oh my God, the sky's falling. You always have players, right? But how was the adjustment to, you're going to have a whole different team now, right?
I think it was just tough. I mean, we got not just a quarterback. We lost three skill guys, receivers and D-backs. We lost our running back the day before we left out the camp, to go to all these guys. I don't know. I guess a lot of people feel like prep school's the new wave. Hard to figure out, but what we say is, hey, we have who we have, and we got to coach those guys up, and we got to be appreciate the guys who stick around and want to be a part of the experience. And I think that's the way that we look at everything is, hey, we have 11 guys, so let's try to coach them up to win.
It helps having a guy like Chili White. I almost called him Chili Davis again. Yeah, I always do that. I don't know why, but having a guy like Chili White, I mean, kind of, you have a freshman quarterback, and that's a lot to put on, a young person. To have a running back where you can give the ball to and kind of maybe slow things down for your quarterback. How nice is it having Chili?
I think it's been great having Chili. Again, I think that the test for us has been to try to figure out who we have and what they're able to do in such a short period of time. Again, Chili last year, he was in the beginning of the season, he was rotating that receiver because we're still trying to figure out who he was. He transferred in during the COVID season, so there wasn't a season. We didn't know really what he could do.
Right, from Middletown, right?
Correct. And then as last year started to go on, we were like, well, let's see what this guy can do, So he started trying to put the ball in his hand, and he made some huge plays at receiver. So we come back this year like, geez, we just lost his running back. Let's, and I said, hey, I remember Sal Morella telling me, hey, the kid's a running back. And I was like, really? And so I said, hey, let's throw him back there and see what he can do. And he's been great for us. Also, John Manning, who's only a sophomore, he's been outstanding for us also at running back.
Who else has really surprised you this year? I mean, like you said, the quarterback situation, you just kind of throw him into the deep end of the pool and see how he does, right? I mean, he's got the size. He looks like an impressive kid.
He's impressive. Again, he keep forgetting how young he is, but I think he gets better every game. He's picking up reads. He understands his checks. He calls the protection. So he's coming along pretty well. Very impressed with the young lineman kids. Got no seniors on the line, but and hopefully they'll all be back. So we're looking to build on that. Both our inside backers are sophomores, so they've been playing very well. So I think that's the exciting part is, looking at who we have, where they were, back in early in August when we started practicing, and how much they've developed since then. So it's an exciting.
I'll continue, Coach. I'm sorry. No, you can continue.
It's an exciting group to coach. I think that's why we all get into it as coaches. We always get self-gratification to see how far along a kid has come since you start working with them. So that's what's fun about working with this group, because they're young and they're competing, and that's all we can ask. So try to put everything together and see what can happen before the year is up.
We were talking about it before we started recording, but where does Windsor get guys from? I mean, where what's in the water in Windsor, right? We were talking about Jason Pinnock, who had a great game for the Giants this past weekend. Obviously, Pot Roast Knighton is from Windsor. Chris Baker, Prince Samuels is up at UConn playing. You guys, every year there's just guys in Windsor. So, what's in the water and how do I get some?
I think a lot of those guys you named, again, like parents grew up in Hartford, in a lot, and have moved here and make, I guess, migrated to Windsor and stuff like that. Here's my thing. Like, I've lived in Windsor for the past 22 years. And so therefore, when I was at Weaver as a head coach, sometimes we look at what we have and what we don't have, what we like as far as resources and those sorts of things, right? So we have athletes at Weaver, right? But we lacked, I guess a lot of our kids lack just support, even if it's nutrition or a place to study, those sorts of things, programming, those sorts of things. So I think that one of the great things about Windsor is it's like a melting pot of coaches, right? We have kids from different walks of life. White kids, black kids, Asian kids, Hispanic kids, so it's a great melting pot, and all those kids get along well. So sometimes I feel like Windsor doesn't really know how blessed they are to have, all these resources here. We got parents who want to be a part of something, parents who contribute to support and help out. So I think there's more of that piece to where we have bodies, so it's all about how do we, provide them with programming so that they'll be ready to go by the time the season starts. Because again, it's just kids that are present. We say, we don't know what they have. Sometimes we know we have good turnover. Then sometimes okay, kids are taking off. What do we have left? How do we get them ready? So I just think that it's a great place to coach a sport. I think, we do well in other sports, baseball, basketball, so it's just a great place to coach. I think the support that the parents give and that the community give is pretty good.
Oh, well, you mentioned, coaching at Windsor, and then you go to you coached at Weaver, then you go to Windsor. You won your 200th game this past week, so congrats for that. Not number one, but is it nice to see Weaver back? As a program standing on its own, under Jude Kelly. After all the success that you had there.
Oh, absolutely. Weaver's like dear to my heart. That's where I was raised at. That's where I'm from. And again, I think the best thing about that community and those kids that are from the north end of Hartford is that sometimes we try to look for something that motivates us to work hard every day. And I don't think people realize how much a sport like football in the north end at Weaver High School, when I came up and also when I coached there, that meant a lot to kids, a whole lot. It kept kids out of trouble. Kids, they wanted to listen. They just wanted to be a part of something that was positive. So when that went away, it was, I think everybody who went to Weaver High School, it was kind of like, it was a sad time. Like, what's happening to our school? So to see it comes back, you wish it the best for the program and the people that's running the program.
For sure. And just quickly, you talked about the success of the programs at Windsor. My guy, Eli Fangillo?
Yeah, Fangillo.
Fangillo, the long locks. Great first baseman. I heard he's a pretty good center.
Oh, man, he's just a pretty good athlete. I mean, he's a swimmer, too.
Yes, I did know that, yeah.
Yeah, he's a swimmer, too. He's an awesome kid, man. He's smart, so you better know what you say. You better know what you're doing as a coach, because he's going to ask you a couple of questions, and you got to know your stuff. I mean, he's the kind of kid, I don't even think he would play if he felt he had a coach that didn't know what they were doing, because he knows the game, so I'm quite sure he treats baseball and swimming the same way.
What was it like, Coach? What was it like, winning 200? I mean, did you go like, oh my God, I'm old? You've been you've been all over the place, and you've won championships, and but now you're winning 100. Oh my goodness! I mean, it must be nice. So what was the night like?
Oh man, it was. Yeah, I tell you, it was weird. I was against South Windsor and Dave Hodge, and when I graduated from college in '93, Dave Hodge took me on the Weaver staff as an assistant coach.
Oh,
and Dave is like a brother to me. Dave taught me how to coach. Dave taught me how to build a program. Most of the things that I learned about programming came from Dave Hodge. So I thought that was special. A lot of guys that I coached with when I was at Weaver, they showed up to the game. A lot of former players showed up from both schools, and I was more thankful and appreciative because I know that I couldn't do any of those things without the people that I've come across, since I've been coaching. So it was more of a night where I was thankful, thankful for the people that supported me, thankful for my family, and just thankful. I think that it was just a moment where I realized that there's really nothing. I mean, we can do a lot of things, but it doesn't mean nothing if you don't appreciate the people that surround you. So it's more that me being thankful for those people.
It's what it's all about the relationships you build. You help these kids out, and then they come back, they're older, they got families, and you're like, there, I did my job, and you're really, and they're like thankful, It's
Right.
like that. That's the way life is, That's.
But do you feel old now?
Yeah.
I don't want to admit it yet. Sometimes I sit around and I go, man, it's been a long time. I mean, you think about it, I became a head coach in '99, but I started coaching in '93. As an assistant. So I'm like, man, it's been a long time.
What's your best team you ever coached? Putting you on the spot here.
Oh man,
you've had some good ones.
And they all listen to the show, so they'll all take this personal.
You can name a couple just to cover your bases.
The best team I ever coached.
Yeah, what's the one that
best team or most talented? Those are two.
Let's go with best team, then we'll go most talented.
Wow, that's a tough one. Probably the best team. The best team I ever coached, I would have to say the 2014 championship team.
Yeah, good team.
Because they were a team. Like they liked each other. They supported each other. Like if we got on somebody, told them they got to run, and the kid said, "I'm not running," they would make sure that kid ran. They all would run with them. Like they were together. So that was a very good team.
That was a really good team. They beat Nico Organi and Notre Dame, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not correct.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of talent on the field that day.
Who'd you have on that team?
Yeah.
Was Benny on that team, or was that later?
Benny Foltz, Tyler Coyle.
Yeah, Coyle.
Tyler Coyle.
Isaiah Huff, Kavon Bennett, Jermaine Welcome, John Nolan.
Oh, that's right. Nolan, the pitcher.
Yeah, we had Malik Brush. And I think Pinnock was a sophomore.
Yeah, 14. Yep.
Yeah, Pinnock was a sophomore.
What was the most? That was a pretty talented team.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not the most talented team.
Yeah, that's not the most talented you ever had. Come on.
No, I think the most talented team I had was my second year at Weber, and we didn't make the playoffs. We went 8-2.
Oh.
But we had, oh my gosh, we had a lot of talent on that team. But I mean, we had T.J. Stanley, we had Stanley Williams, Joe Belfort. Like we had a stable of running backs. Tim Rush was quarterback, and we had a lot of talent. But I don't think that I was experienced enough to coach them better.
Right.
Like if I know things that I know today, I'm like, wow, I could have did a few more things with that team. But we developed and we learned. But I thought that team, if I could have that team back, I wonder how the season would look.
Wait,
wow, that was 2000. That's a very mature answer, a longtime coach answer.
Yeah.
That was a good answer.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at your year by year for your 200 wins, and you've never finished under 500.
No, once we had one of the track coaches had told me that one day. I was like, huh? He's like, you never had a losing season? I was like,
never had in 20 years. I mean, that's crazy to do because it's high school, right? You're dependent on the families that move in, the kids that go to the school. I mean, how much, is that the kids, the coaching staff? I mean, you obviously have a great staff around you. But I mean, to never, we're talking about this year where you lost so many great players, whether to transfer or graduation, and here you guys are 6-3 with the chance to go back to the playoffs.
Yeah, I think I get my coaching staff a lot of credit. a lot of credit. They would when we put a lot of time in, just like other coaching staffs that do. I think the teams that are successful are the ones who are with their kids all year round, and it's not really about just the football. It's about building relationships, right? It's about hey, having dinners together. Just trying to build a family. I think that when you're able to do that with kids, that, they will do anything that they can not to try to disappoint you. They want to grow and they want to develop. So it's been that. It's been the the kids that we have, the administration, like they have to be supportive of the things that you're doing, and families. So I think that is again, it's more about programming, right? It's where like when I was at I think like my third or fourth year at Weaver, one of the coaches said to me, so the coach, like mentor, Tim Sullivan, who's now like the superintendent of Craig schools, he said, you, what did he say? He said, we're a good team, but we're not a good program. And I said, what are you talking about? Like I was a little fit. I was like, what are you talking about? He said, we're a good team, but we're not a good program. I said, what are you talking about? And he said, well, we have to put things in place to where it doesn't matter which kids are here. The results are going to be the same every year, right? He said, so that's what we have to do, where we got to continue to build the program. And I always keep that in the back of my mind because that I still do that today, to where I say, what do we need to do better? What do we have to do better? How do we program better? So in programming, have to do, I would say, it was more important than the off season than the season, because again, you're trying to implement a foundation, for kids to adapt and to hold on to and to believe in. So you have to set programming up, and kids have to believe in it. And as we're hoping that by the end of the season, through a reflection of the record and kids graduating and moving on to post-secondary education or post-secondary plans, of how successful are we with supporting kids and doing those things.
How many kids have you coached that have gone on play professionally, maybe even the NFL? How you have the number, or is it like you have to like really think about it because you've had so many?
Wow.
You've had a bunch, right?
Not a bunch, ones that have made it. I think before, I don't think any of them from Weaver. Before I got to Windsor, Mark Welch was the head coach, and I know Mark Welch was Coach Terrence Knighton, and he coached Chris Baker and Demeek Scaffey. Demeek Scaffey played with the Chargers.
That's right.
Yeah. So since I've gotten here, I've had Ryan Delaire, who was with the Panthers Super Bowl team. Who else did I have? Jason Pinnock and Tyler Coyle.
Mm-hmm.
So those three.
Oh, okay.
That's like three more than most coaches ever get.
That's what I was going to say.
And those kids are great kids. I mean, it's weird. So it's weird because when you have them, you're not even thinking of anything like that. It's from the ones that I've had, it was like the growth from like junior year to senior year. It was extraordinary to me. You just see a change of attitude and just a change in commitment level. Like Tyler Coyle and Jason Pinnock started on a championship basketball team for Coach Smith their junior year, right? So going into their senior year, they quit the basketball team to run indoor track. So it's like, hey, I said, what are you guys doing? And he said, I'm trying to make it to the league. So we got to work on our speed. They both said the same thing. And this was different years they graduated. But they made a decision and made a commitment. And, sometimes that's what it takes, doing stuff that other people wouldn't do.
You had Asaph Schwab, right?
Yes.
What was he like to coach?
Oh man, a blessing. Like never said anything mean or anything. It's like when he got on the field, he would just crush people. But he was a really good kid.
Yeah.
He was one of the first Notre Dame football players that. So I grew up on Long Island. My dad's a huge Notre Dame fan. We used to go to whenever they played at Giant Stadium, and he was one of the players that I loved growing up. I had no idea he was from Connecticut. I couldn't point out Connecticut on a map at the time. Now I find out he's from Hartford, went to Weaver. I'm like, oh, this is my guy.
It's so weird. Yeah, Asaph and had his older brother Andrew. They were a year apart. And Andrew was the mean one. Andrew coaches with me now, but Andrew was the mean guy. Like, he was tough. He didn't play any games. So when the ASAP was getting recruited, it was weird. That's when we had the VHS tapes. And so I was like, man, let me put together a highlight of him. So I sent one to Maryland. And I said, I'm going to send one to Notre Dame. It just popped in my head. Let me send one to Notre Dame. So I sent it. Then all of a sudden one day, like phone call to my room, said, hey, Notre Dame's down here. I said, who?
Notre Dame West Haven,
Notre Dame West Haven, yeah.
Right. And so I go
Gucci.
down, and it was one of the assistant coaches, and he was like, hey, I seen the film of this guy. He said, can I meet him? So I brought him downstairs, and he's like, oh, okay. And he said, hey, I'm going to invite him to our top 100 camp. You guys think you can get him out there? I was like, yeah, we'll get him out there. So we go
I'll
out
drive
there.
him out there.
Yeah. We go out there, and this kid had the biggest smile on his face, like it's a little baby just in Disneyland or something. So he was just he is not one of them. He is the most humble young man, humble person I've ever met in my life. He's just a nice, human being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost been 10 years since he's been gone, which is just mind blowing. Talk about feeling old, but it's he died of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, right? And it was that, which is just crushing and just gone too soon.
And it's weird. Like you said, I seen him in a gym, and so I walk up to him and say, hey, is everything all right? He told me about everything. It's like, yeah, this is my situation. And I said, are you okay? Are you nervous? Are you scared? He's like, no, I'm okay. He was still coming to the gym, working out as he was going through his treatment and all that stuff.
Wow.
Always positive, never sad about anything. So, I don't know. That's why I say, sometimes when things I think get tough for me, just in my personal life, sometimes I'm like, I don't have anything to complain about. You know what I mean? Like, Ace has a motivation for me in many ways. So it's a blessing for us to cross paths.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to jump too far back, but you are a Southern alum like I am.
Yes, sir.
And you played at Southern, and you guys were a good team. Joe Stockmill was the quarterback of your team, the Oxford coach.
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow,
I find wild.
Caught my only touchdown pass from Joe Stockmill.
I was going to ask, did he throw it to you? That was my first question.
Yeah.
But also, because it's something, Southern hasn't been able to do, not to knock our alma mater, but how did it feel to actually beat UNH in a football game?
Oh, man.
Because Southern hasn't done it in a long time. I'm pretty sure since you guys beat them in 91, Southern's only won like 3 times against them.
Wow, that was that track meet game. I think it was a 64-61 or something.
64-60. Since then, Southern beat them in 98 and 2009. That's it.
Wow.
Including twice this year. Twice.
Yeah. Oh man, that was a tough rivalry right there. Well, I don't even, but like they used to, I guess again they had us. I mean, they had our numbers. But that year we had a really good team. We should have been much better than what we finished. What did we finish? 7-3 or something? Like we had a really good team. Our offense was outstanding. We just had some problems stopping people, but we were loaded. We was loaded with that team offensively.
All right, I just got to get my. I was talking to Chris Anderson, the Naugatuck coach, and I'm like, can you let Southern win one, please?
Yeah.
And he's like, no. I'm like, all right, thanks.
Is Chris at New Haven?
No, he was the quarterbacks coach when they brought the program back.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so like there's a little back and forth between him and I. I just want Southern to win one. They won my sophomore year. That was it. I wasn't even there.
Yeah.
Oh, Pete.
Well, hopefully they'll get it back.
Yeah, hopefully.
He's talking about, the now, your season a little bit. You started off with Wethersfield, and Pete, what was the question you had for Fleet about that game?
Oh man, do you regret not going for 2? Do you regret going for 2 at the end of the Wethersfield game? Now that the way the chips have fallen, playing Monday morning quarterback here.
At that moment, I didn't regret it. I didn't regret it a week later. I didn't regret it 2 weeks later. I would say probably 2 weeks ago, I sat there and said, man, what if I would have went for 1? I'll tell you the situation was that we didn't have a kicker who showed us that they can kick the ball through the uprights.
Yeah.
Right. But we had a runner who showed him he can run the ball. Right. So it came to one of those things. It's early in the season. Right. We got 2 kickers, neither of them were being successful in practice. We put them in after the first touchdown. It went wide left, right? And it's like, okay, that's where it always goes, right? So when we scored the last touchdown, I was like, we put this guy in, right? Again, we got young kids. We really don't know what they can do. What we've seen in practice, he hasn't been successful kicking it. Or do we go with this guy who's been running the crap out of the ball? You know, so and that was the decision. So I guess if you put me back in that same situation, knowing what I knew, I would have did the same thing.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you can't really second guess yourself. Plus, it was the first game of the year. You have a whole season left, you know. But now you're like right in the thick of it here. You got to beat Bloomfield to win, to get yourself in position. It's not quite guaranteed, but you know, obviously a huge game. You guys haven't played. Ty Outlaw was telling me you guys haven't played for a few years, like a long time, since like 2010 or something. But tell me about how this game came about. Wait, when was it?
I think 2010.
Yeah, something like that. But it's been a while, and these are two communities that are right next to each other. They don't ever play. Right. Like, what do we got? Like, this is like a natural fit. So tell me how this came together, and you know, and how excited you guys are about playing a big game, two neighboring towns, and you know, lots of kids know each other. You know how that goes. I mean, this is gonna be.
Yeah. I don't know. We used to always go back and forth, myself and Ty, like, hey, why don't we? We need to play. We need to play. I think it was a concern that it was a concern. I think that an AD had a concern because it was. I would say the concerns were legit. I mean, it was getting to a point to where adults were getting into fights. You know, where it was. You know, it's supposed to be something that was fun. You know, exciting for communities, and it started to evolve into something else where it was really being taken as a we gonna get you, you gonna get us.
A little too seriously, right?
Right. So, and I think that was a concern that one of the ADs had. So that's how, that's why the series stopped, and that's why it was trouble getting it back going again. Finally, both sides agreed to do it again, and I think everybody's excited about that.
Yeah, well, what I mean, they're very talented. They got some receivers. They got the quarterback's been pretty good. They're a young team as well. They got a big bowling ball up front. What do you guys got to do to stop them?
Oh man, just play sound. Just been do what we've been doing all year. I think that that's what I'm most impressed about with our kids is that we really can't worry too much about what they do. We got to worry about what we do, and again, just make sure that we're sound against them. I think they definitely got some great athletes. They're quick, they're fast, and we want to see how we match up against them. I'm excited. I think we also have some great athletes who are quick and fast, and so I'm looking forward to the matchup.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a real exciting week this weekend. This week, Coach. I mean, you're competing with all the state championships, which is you're killing us. Couldn't play on like a Sunday or a Friday afternoon or something. I don't know, but hey, it sounds like a lot of people are fired up. Ty's fired up. I mean, you guys are fired up. Should be a really good game, and and then we'll see what happens. On Thanksgiving, we'll see where the cards fall and whether you guys are going to be getting Class M, Double M. I mean, the last thing I'll ask you is, what do we got to do about these playoffs, Coach? What's the situation here? I mean, half these teams in your league, you guys, I don't want to say you beat them up, but I've been saying it all year. You've been beat them up. I mean, do we need to do some power rating? I don't know. What do we got to do here?
I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. I think it's tough. I think that I guess the biggest thing that's tough for me is that I think like a lot of conferences are trying to make things balanced for the teams in their conference, right? So I think that they're afraid of teams dropping out of their conference, right? But it's not. Again, if I'm a double M school, right? I don't mind playing double M teams, L teams, or double L teams. The issue is other double M teams that probably don't play any double M teams and are playing M and S teams.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the tough part. So it's like I wish that there's a way for teams to not be able to play down. Like if you're going to qualify for, let's just say, the Class L tournament, then you should be playing Class L teams are higher, unless
Right.
unless they choose, a little team choose, hey, I want to play this team, right? So that's just, I understand one or two, that's cool, but it's like if the majority of your schedule is lower than the conference that you're trying to play in the qualify for a playoff for, that's kind of tough. That's kind of tough pill to swallow.
I think part of the thing is that we need to acknowledge that there are definitely certain levels here. We need to figure out a way to balance that out, because I don't want to kill those guys, but you guys were in when you guys got matched up with Cheney last year. We thought Cheney was a good team. I don't know if they should be playing at that level. That was kind of like the argument. We're not trying to knock Cheney. Cheney's a good program, but at their level they are. And you guys win 62-0, and then you guys go fresh into St. Joe, which had just had a dogfight with Hand. St. Joe, it was a little bit of like you guys didn't have to do much, and you guys were all fresh, and St. Joe's kind of maybe beat up. That was kind of an issue, but. I totally agree with you what you said. You can't, if you're going to be, it's the same thing with Sheehan. Sheehan's playing like a double L or an L schedule or an M schedule, and they're in the Class SS playoffs, or they're not now because they play all those teams. There's got to be a way to fix that.
Right. Yeah. You find out, let me know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. But anyway, that's not here there. We complain about that way too much in here. So anyway, Coach, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Great conversation. Congrats on the win, and go get them on Saturday. We'll maybe we'll see you after Thanksgiving.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Thanks, Coach.
Absolutely, Coach. Thanks a lot. That was Rob Fleeting. Lots of football there, man. Lots of football. He's been to the pinnacle. He's coached some great players. I mean, he's fast becoming if he's not already, he's already fast becoming a coaching legend here in Connecticut High School.
Yeah, Rob's one of the best. He's just a great guy to talk football with, whether it's on this show or in person before a game or whatever. Just just so knowledgeable about the game, and he cares really a lot about his kids, the program. Obviously having good football players, but making them into molding them into good people. And it's nice when that happens and you win games, and he's won 200 of them. So
that's a big game that they got against Bloomfield this weekend. Like I just said, it's kind of tough. They're playing on championship weekend where all the other sports are having championships. Plus you have the Knepsack Bowls. You have Brunswick versus Choate for the Knepsack New England overall championship. That just got announced on Sunday. That's being played the same time. Well, there's lots of games. They have Hall Connor going on that day, Yale Harvard going on that day. It's a big sports day. Getting crowded with a lot of things there. So hopefully we'll be able to check them out. But the one thing we didn't mention at the top, Pete, is just quickly that the CIC finally, we know where we're playing our state championship matchups. And guess what? Surprise, surprise. We're going back to Rentschler Field and Central Connecticut State's Root Field for the championship. They played at Rentschler Field for 3 years, 2010, 11, and 12. And then 13, they tried to move it all to a Root Field at Central, but that was the big snowstorm that week, which knocked 2 of the games out. And then St. Joseph Brookfield was played in just a blizzard. Yeah.
I covered that one. That was the first state championship football game I ever covered.
Oh, wow. So they were going back. That's kind of a surprise. I thought for sure with 6 state championships, they were going to go strictly high school sites, which there's nothing wrong with that. Trumbull's always been good. West Haven finally, I think, could be available, but and New Britain was always good. But the CIC wants to do it up big with their championship. So
I think a lot of people do, though. A couple of things. I'm excited because they have really nice press boxes, if we're being completely selfish. Like, I felt like I was always fighting for a spot at Willowbrook because, I'm going to be wherever I'm at. It's going to be for 3 games. It's not going to be one and done. And Trumbull doesn't have a press box. I mean, they have a press box, but fits like 4 people. So you could never get any work done while you're there. And this is, just me complaining about having to cover multiple games. West Haven, I like Ken Strong. Press box is nice. Again, being selfish, but Central and Rentschler are 2 awesome spots for us to go for 3 games. I mean, we're going to be there all day. Like, it's going to be nice to put our stuff down and be able to do stuff during the game. Again, that's just me being, from my personal selfish point of view. But here's the thing. I'm excited for this because I got 1 year covering state championships at Central. It was a blizzard. It was crazy. And then I don't think I was just at high school fields the rest of the way. So people have been complaining. People have been shouting from the rooftops for years. We need to move the games to big sites. Mohegan's got basketball. Hockey was at Yale, then Quinnipiac. It's going to be somewhere new. I think this year the Quinnipiac deal was only a 1-year deal. UConn and Sacred Heart are opening up 2 state-of-the-art arenas. It could be any of those places. So they have a great thing. Baseball at Palmer. They have these great venues for these championships, and then it's like, oh, you won a championship. You're in the state final, St. Joe's in Berlin. Go play at Shelton. Finn Stadium's beautiful. I love covering games there, but what do you, like the road to Mohegan, or, the run to the sun, the road to the well, like there was nothing. It was just like, go play another high school, venue. So people were loudly complaining, oh, we need to go back here. We need to go back here. So I'm going to say this to those people, the people who were yelling and screaming about us, championships being at bigger venues, show up for the finals. Cause there are a lot of people out there saying, oh, Rentschler, it's too big. Like, you're not going to be able to hear or see the fans. And like, totally get that. But, for the people who were yelling and screaming their heads off, oh, we need to have a big venue, show up. I don't want to hear if New Canaan or Darien or St. Joe's or Greenwich has to go play at UConn that, they don't, those fans don't travel. Well, then boo-hoo, that's your fault. We're playing at the best facilities that this state has to offer for football. Shut up and show up. That's my piece on it, because it's exciting. It's great for the kids. It's great for the team that look forward to, hey, I'm going to go play on Rentschler. I'm going to go play at UConn, where a football program that's bowl eligible. Who the hell saw that one coming? Yeah. And I don't know what factor Jim Mora played in probably UConn hosting, but he mentioned it when he, when he first got hired, that he wanted to make UConn football this mecca for high school football in Connecticut. Obviously, having John Marinelli on the staff helps, as someone who can be like, hey, like, I know how this works on this side. I know how it works on this side. Let's try and get this together. So I'm excited for it. I mean, whichever place you choose, I'll go to the other one.
I don't care. I mean, I've done the Rentschler thing. I loved Rentschler when it was played there. The only thing I don't like with Rentschler is they need turf.
Yeah. I can't. I got to wear my ugly boots then. Yeah. Can't wear my cool guy boots.
So we'll be at different sites, which is just sad. But I liked it at Rentschler. I thought I'd give it a big game feel, even if it wasn't quite the large. You just look at those footage, though, from like Tyler Matakevich versus Dobbs and those guys.
Or Boyle's throw that you love to show everyone.
Yeah. The
70-yard pass.
Throw, every time I think of Xavier winning the championships, I always think of Rentschler Field. I mean, there's a photo of one.
Well, I will say this, and I've never covered a state final at Rentschler, and I'll be honest, I don't really remember that game at Central. It was so cold. I was hiding in the press box next to Kevin Duffy, who was at the Post at the time. So I was like, I'm not standing out there. Now I look back and I laugh at myself. But Mohegan, they do like the video scoreboard, and they do like this big presentation, and they make it feel like it's this big thing, because it is a big thing. And they did it at Yale for hockey. They did it at Quinnipiac last year for hockey. Palmer, does a good job. Like, to UConn and to Central, like, do it up, do it big, make it special. So even if the fans are too spread out, that it doesn't feel like a big game. Like, if you get the stuff on the scoreboard and all that kind of stuff, like,
they do.
Make it a thing. Make it huge.
Yeah, that's one thing. I actually agree. This is a good decision by CIC. Now, it would be a lot nicer if it was just 4 games and we played it at one site. But, you got 6 state champions. I guess you got to pay for it, pay for all these venues somehow. Maybe that's why I have 6 state championships. So anyway, Pete, let's wrap this thing up. What do you got on the Petey Page Views Pick'em podcast coming up this week? It's going to be a busy week. Well, by the way, we got a little reunion. I got to show this you'll see it on the live action. We had a little, if you remember a couple weeks ago, Tom Unger from West Haven was giving Pete the business for picking against him. And we got up this photo right there. There it is. There he is. Him and Unger. Buddies finally, because Pete picked West Haven to beat Hamden, so now they're all on the same page. Very nice, Pete, that you and Tom got to have a little kumbaya there at the end of that game.
The olive branch was presented and accepted. So I'm in West Haven's good graces for now.
Until you pick against them again.
Until I pick against them. Exactly.
Oh, we do it. I should be said, the West Haven guys, they make picks before the games. They do it. They do their own. They'll never say what it is, but they say they do their own picks in the coach's locker room. So I find.
I'll tell you, the West Haven reception was great. One of the kids after the game, one of the linemen came up to me. He's like, "I watch your show every week," and I went for like a handshake. I was like, "Oh yeah, like nice to meet you, man." And he gave me like kind of one of those like, high five hugs. And then like he's so big, he like lifted me off my feet.
Yeah. Everybody goes. Everybody thinks. Everybody, Pete, goes. They gravitate to you because you're the guy with the beard and the hat. They don't ever say anything to me. I'm the handsome one. Yeah. I'm at St. Joe Massick, and I got guys saying Pete, and I'm like, wrong guy. They're all calling me Pete. They should call this the Petey Payview's meat grinder with Sean Patrick Bowl.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, all right, yeah, okay. Look, don't forget where your bread's buttered, pal. All right. Anyway, what do we got on the Payview's Pick'em podcast this week?
Thin week. I think there's only 22 games this weekend. We had to pick 10 to pick for the Pick'ems. So first off, we got Middletown at Berlin. Middletown is 6-3, Berlin 9-0. East Hartford 2-7 at Manchester, who was 3-5. Then we got ELSCC. We got East Haven 2-6 at Guilford 5-3. Little Tech School ATI, who I believe is 7-1. They have Wilcox Caner Tech 4-4, Platt Tech 3-4, Northwest United. It's unbeaten. Then we got North Branford and Tommy Hanson. They're 4-4 with some playoff hopes, like Sean mentioned earlier. They're playing at Morgan. Then we got the Knickerbocker versus Brian Mazzone Bowl. Stafford travels up to Rockville. Then we got Hall Connard, the Mayor's Cup, or the Mayor's Bowl, the Mayor's Trophy, the West Hartford Bowl. Hall at Connard. Then we got Windsor and Bloomfield, like we just talked about with Coach Fleeting. And the final game is Glastonbury at Simsbury. Like I said, thin week of games to choose from. But to jump a little ahead, next week, we're going to have the Thanksgiving picks, and we're picking 20 games for the Thanksgiving. I think we did 20 last year, but we like to expand it. There's so many games, regardless of record, regardless of playoff implications, that just mean a lot. They have so much history. Harding Bridgeport Central is one that comes to mind. It's 100 years. Hill House, Wilbur Cross. That game's been going on forever. So we're going to pick a lot of those games. We got 20. So hopefully that'll be out next Monday because games start Tuesday. Then we're going to pick all 24 quarterfinals, all 12 semifinals, and all 6 champions.
That's a mouthful, Pete. All right, well, until then, this has been the Meat Grinder. I'm Sean Patrick Boley, and the sidekick of your host, Pete Paguaga. We'll see you guys ball out this week. We'll see you guys next week for the big extravaganza. Bye.
Love you all.